Years ago, I saw the movie Big Fish by Tim Burton. I went not being much of a Tim Burton fan and not really being sure of what the movie was about. The movie was amazing. It's the story of a relationship between a father and a son over many years. The father is famous for telling fantastical stories about his life. Given an opening, he will jump in telling tall tales that become more and more unbelievable. As a boy, the son loves every minute of it. As a teen, the son tolerates it. As an adult, the son can't stand it. Why doesn't he like his father's stories? The stories are always over the top, and as far as he is concerned, not true. Not surprisingly, the son becomes a journalist who pursues the facts and the truth. Towards the end of the movie, the son comes to a realization about his father. He told the story so many times, he became the story. That is my favorite moment in the entire movie because I think it is true. We tell our stories so many times that we become those stories. How does this connect with our Torah portion this week, Parashat Shemot? Because we begin the book of Exodus this week and we begin to tell, again, one of the central stories of our identity as Jews. We were slaves in Egypt and God redeemed us. We retell the story of our slavery in Egypt each year as we read the Torah. We begin reading the narrative this week, although there have been hints for the last few weeks, ever since Joseph was sold into slavery in Egypt. The 10 Commandments begin, I, the Eternal, am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. We retell the story throughout the year. Why do we celebrate Shabbat? Because we were slaves in Egypt and God freed us so that we could celebrate Shabbat. Why do we celebrate Passover? Because we were slaves in Egypt and God redeemed us. We reenact the story in our liturgy on a daily basis. When we speak of the crossing of the Sea of Reeds and sing the song Mi Chamocha, the song that the Israelites sang as God freed them, because we were slaves in Egypt. In the Mishnah, we read, B'chol dor vador chayav adam lirot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa miMitzrayim. In every generation, each of us is obligated to see ourselves as if we personally had been liberated from Egypt. This is clearly a central story, if not the central story, to our identity as Jews. We tell this story so many times in order to become the story. Our tradition wants us to become this story because it affects how we act in the world. When we remember that we were slaves in Egypt, we are more likely to do something about injustice. When we remember that we were slaves in Egypt, we are more likely to treat the stranger as ourselves. When we remember that we were slaves in Egypt and that God redeemed us, it changes and strengthens our relationship to the eternal. We tell our stories so often that we become our story. Doesn't matter if the story is fantastical or true. It does matter that there is truth in it, and it is a story worth becoming. We were slaves in Egypt, and now we are free because God redeemed us.